Hey, Baldra and Sam. Hey, this is Pat, and I wanted to talk a little bit about how the assembly and the part numbers and the part names work. So, um, all of these numbers for each part needs to be a part number that's assigned to it. So, let's um, let's step back and look at the spreadsheet. And so, here's our spreadsheet on Google Drive. And this assembly right here, I gave the assembly a name. So assembly part number UPC code can be an assembly, a subassembly, or a part number. So we don't care. It's a random number, but we own all these numbers for our storefront. So we give it a number. So here's the release force gauge mechanism. And so I'm going to grab this description here. I like it all in capital letters, so it's formatted to drawing. So I go copy. And we already gave the assembly the 9958 number right here. So I'm going to shrink this down. And I'm going to go into here. And so here's 9958, that's the assembly. But it needs a description. So I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to go down to properties right here. And so I go in here and it needs a description. So it carries the part number with it, which is what we named it. And then in here I'm going to paste the description. It's the release force gauge mechanism. And I hit OK. And now I hit save. And I can do this for the sensor. So I think that we call this thing the force gauge sensor. So let's do a part here. So I'm going to click on this and I'm going to change the name to a part number. So I'm going to go back to the spreadsheet here. So here's this, and I need to pick the next number in the list here. So I'm going to go down here to this number. I'm going to call it force gauge. And I'm going to look for force gauge up here. I don't see it anywhere. So it's a force gauge, I'm sorry, F-O-R-C-E. And I've got it all capital letters, so it carries it through like a proper drawing should be. And it's the force gauge, and here's the part number right there. I'm going to copy that part number. I'm going to go copy, and then I'm going to go back here, and I'm going to right click on this. I'm going to go rename. I'm sorry, you click once and then you click again, and it allows you to change the name. And I'm going to go Control V. Now it's got a part number, but I need to give it a description. So I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to go to Properties, and then I'm going to go over here and I'm going to say force gauge, what I called it in the spreadsheet. So when somebody needs to order this, they can order it on the website, and the description is force gauge, F-O-R-C-E, and it's got the part number that we relate everything to at the storefront. And I hit OK. Okay, and then let's do one more. So that puck's going away, but here's the upper, what do I call this thing? The upper, I'm going to go back. Let me see what I called it. So I call that the, right. Okay, well, let's just call this this is the lower force gauge right here. So here, let's just go back up here and go activate. And I'm not going to change that one. Those ones go away. But I'm going to change this one. We'll call this the upper force gauge bracket, upper bracket. So I really need this to be a part number, so I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to go into the spreadsheet. I'm going to grab the next one from it. I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go upper bracket. And then I'm going to copy this number right here. I'm going to go Control C, and I'm going to go back here to this part right here, and I'm going to come in and rename it. I'm going to do that. Click once, and then click again, and then Control V. I can rename it to the part number that I want. So this is how we track everything in the shop. So when we go to 3D print it, we track that number. When we sell it on the store as an accessory or an assembly, we'll sell by the assembly name here, and then it'll have all these. So now I'm going to hit save, and I want to create a drawing of this. So the way that I do it is I first go into my animation, and it looks like Baldra already got this animated. And by the way, this little detent right here needs to be a protrusion. So we need to add this material here. Don't make it a cut, make it tall by a 0.5 millimeter or millimeter, and then our sensor gets pinched. So we want the sensor to get pinched by all that. So anyhow, so he's got the exploded view done, and then I can go back to the animation, our model, and then I go and I say drawing from animation, and it's like, let's just go with the standard drawing right here. We leave it in metric, and we're going to use one of our drawing borders. Where's our borders? Connectors. Now I don't have a border in here, but let's not worry about the border right now. And then we just leave it on A4, 297 millimeters by 210 tall. Click on that. I want everything on A size so you can print it out on a small printer. Let's try that again. Template. No. Drawing. Okay, it's just creating the drawing here. Don't keep clicking because it's got to bring it all together. Okay, so it puts in the title, the part number, and then we just change this. We can leave it in a, I'm okay with this as a shaded full-length edge on there so it pops out at you, and maybe 1:1 we can scale it and get it in there. So right there, and then I go okay. So now our exploded view comes in, and I usually hit save, and it wants to rename it the main assembly, but we want it to be the drawing. Yeah, we want it to be that drawing. So we're gonna leave it like that. Hit save, and now this drawing has a part number or a assignment to it. And then I need to go and bring in a bill of materials. So I'm going to go to tables, and I'm going to click on this, and my tables comes over here. It's pretty big. So maybe we can shrink this view. So I'm going to click on the view, and I'm going to go edit view, and I'm going to go back to 1:2. So it's half scale. Oops. Right. And then I'm just going to move this over here. Oops. All right. Oh, there we go. I'm going to move this out of the way. I'm going to delete it. I'm going to move this now down over to here. Let's start this drawing again, and let's do a bigger drawing. So we're going to go. I'm going to go back to drawings from animation. I'm going to change the drawing and make it bigger here. I'm going to make it this next size up, so it's 420 millimeters wide. That'll give us more room to put everything in. And I just hit OK. Let it think. It takes a little bit to bring it in from the cloud. And then I'm going to leave the home view, and I'm going to go 1:1. I'm going to change this from shaded to shaded with full line details. I'm going to put it over here. I'm going to go OK. And I'm going to click on this drawing, and I'm going to click on table. And that puts in the bill of materials right here. And so what you can see is we got a part number for the force gauge right there. And now we have all the details called out here, but the descriptions are off. And so you've got to go back into the assembly. Let's just move this right here. Okay. So everybody's got to get a part number. Okay. And so that'll go into the description, and then the part number's there. So let's just hit save on this. And it gives it the right name. Hit save. And then I'm going to go back to the assembly, and I'm going to go to not the metal puck. We're going to get rid of those. So I want to go back, and I'm just going to go delete it, and it'll get it out of the assembly. So I go back to model mode right here, and then I go down to these metal pucks, and I'm going to hit delete, and I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to delete that one. And sometimes red will show up here in the timeline. And now what we want to do is we want to go ahead and one thing that you have to know is that you have to create a selection set so everything stays together when you pick on it in the other assemblies, and then create a rigid group. And then now it's stiff and it's rigid, so it won't explode when it goes into the other assembly. And hit save. But anyhow, we've got spacers that go in here. You're going to have to add these spacers here, and this screw and all this needs to get part numbers. So let's go down to the next one. So this one right here has got a part number, and let's go activate it, and then right click and go properties, and it doesn't have a description here. So I believe we called this the upper clamp, and so we'll call it upper force gauge clamp, and I hit OK. And let's do another one. Let's do this one down here. I'm going to go over here and click on it. I'm going to right click and go activate, and then I'm going to go properties, and I'm going to call it lower force gauge part name. I'm sorry. Lower force gauge. And the part number, we're going to change the part number here. So I have to go to back to my spreadsheet here in Google, and I go to, we'll call this upper force gauge bracket. And we'll call this one lower force gauge bracket. So I'm going to go Control C, Control V, and go lower force gauge bracket. So I'm going to copy that. Actually, F-O-R-C-E. And I'm going to copy this part number right here, copy. And then I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to change the part number to that. And the part name is good. And I can rename it right here. And we'll go Control V, so there's the part number. So when we output this to the 3D printer, the 3D printer will get this part file name with this number, and we follow it around through this number all the way through our system out to the customer. So that's why we like the part description to be the part number. But if I hit save, and I right click here and I go activate, whatever, save. You always have to save after you get done to carry it all the way into the drawing. And then I click on the drawing. The drawing has this little yellow reference thing up here, and if you click on this, it updates everything. So you'll see the bill of materials update, and it'll get rid of the metal pucks, and it'll change the part numbers and the description. So it's going to add a description in here, and it's going to update on all this stuff. So there it is updating. So the part number, the description. The material, we should change that in properties. So let's go to properties. I'm going to go back to here, and I'm going to go to this one. Let's just do these three right here. I'm going to activate this, and I'm going to go down to physical materials, and I'm going to say glass. Actually, it's plastic. Let's go to plastic, and we'll go to acrylic, or it's an epoxy actually. Clicking on that. Go close, and now it'll carry that information with it. And then we can go to this one, which is the upper one here, and I activate this, and I go material properties, and I go find carbon fiber right here, carbon fiber reinforced carbon fiber. So I click on that, and I put it up there, and I click on it, and I make that. It's all going to be 3D printed. Actually, that one right there, I can do it all at one time. I can go activate, and then I click on this right here, the launcher, and I'm going to go and go material properties, and then I'm going to go down to this carbon fiber one on plastics. I'm going to drag it up onto that one. I'm going to drag it onto that one. I'm going to go to drag it onto that one, and then that will carry that material property. So I hit close, and then I hit save. So all of our 3D printed stuff is carbon fiber reinforced material. And so now I save it, and then I go back to the drawing, and I get that yellow beacon up here, and I hit it again, and it'll change the materials over here. So you'll see CFP, epoxy resin, CRFP. So the material property has to get selected for it to fill out this side of the detail. So then let's just go down into the border here. So I can click on this and move this out of the way. Let's go into the border right here. And I just want to get a couple things in here. So the department is always going to be engineering. The technical reference is illustrations. Created by Pat Conroe, but it can be changed to Baldra. The date, it's approved by Pat. Date approved, I can do all that. Let's go 7/21/18. Document type, it is a shop, it's assembly drawing. And the status is released. It's got the part number. The title should be, what are we calling this thing? Release force gauge mechanism. And that's going to be the name and the title. And the drawing number is going to be the same right here. We go Control C, Control V, Rev-01 is the first release. 02 would be the next release, 03 and so forth. The date of it issued is 7/21/18. And so anytime you make changes, let's just change this date of release and the rev, okay? And I hit OK, and it fills out the border here, okay? And I hit save. And so now, I think that we got rid of, yeah, we got rid of the part that was there. And then we need to get another bubble on here, so I can go to up here to, whoops, to balloons. And I'm going to click on this because I lost the bubble there, so that's number 3. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 parts. Okay, so everybody is accounted for. And you can actually click on things again if you want another bubble there, like that's number 4, because we use 2 of them. And there's a screw right there. It's number 5 right there. So we use the same screws going in 2 different directions. Now there's going to be a spacer that's going to be added here on either side of the screw that we want you to make. We want it to be a slip fit there. So I'm going to hit save, and it's saved. So now that's what I need you to do. So Now when we export this to Shopify, we export it by this part number. The whole assembly gets put up there in 3D so people can spin it around and look at it in A360 from the storefront. And so I need you to complete all this stuff here. And I'm just going to leave it at that. Hopefully you got it. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you later. Have a great day.